Good evening, Chicago. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host, Linal Harris, Chicago's very own life coach, right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. Inspirational Perspective on your radio is all about murdering mediocrity and living the best life possible. So as I ask you every Saturday evening at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, are you living the best life possible? And this is the place to be to explore that possibility. All right, well, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope you enjoy your holiday so far. Enjoy family, friends, good, wholesome eating, and all the things that the holidays bring. So happy Thanksgiving to you from me and my family, and I know I enjoyed the holidays. And I tell you, hey, being married makes it fun because you get to, you got two mamas now, two mamas cooking. So I ate cooking from both my mother-in-law and my mother. So definitely enjoyed the holidays. And then what about Black Friday? I was looking at a couple of articles. They were saying that some records were broken online. So it looks like a lot of you didn't necessarily go into the store, but you did your shopping online. So interesting. And, I had some Black Friday specials as well. And I actually held them for the listeners. So when you get a chance, make sure you go out to murdermediocrity.com and check that out. What I did is I created a decision-making framework, and I'm sharing it for free all the way through Monday. It's free. So that's at murdermediocrity.com. And it's based on last week's show, where I shared the 6 ways for you to reduce regret and indecision and make confident life choices. So if you want to check out that framework, if you want the PDFs that go along with that and other downloads for free, then you just go to murdermediocrity.com, and you also get free membership with that. So, all right, well, tonight's topic, let's get right into it, because I do have, I would say this is probably the most important of the topics that I've shared in relationship to purpose, power, possibility. But first, I got to call it. I believe it's Taylor. Taylor, how are you? Happy Thanksgiving. You there?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
But Linal, I didn't get your topic.
I'm sorry?
I was listening for the topic.
Oh, how to tap into your power.
Oh, okay. I got you now. I missed that part. I was getting off of the speakerphone onto the better phone here. The way I have tapped into my power, believe it or not, if I could use, I'm not sure if I could use that comparable word, but I believe deeply in what Dr. T. Barry Brazelton, a emeritus pediatrician at Harvard University, says that what happens after birth is a direct correlation to what takes place before birth. And I have great anticipations for this coming December the 1st of 2017.
Okay.
I believe it's going to be very telling in the African American community. That is, if their minds are still in 1955 and their bodies are out of the womb.
Okay.
You follow me?
No, I don't. I don't.
Well, we'll wait till December the 1st comes, because I'm 63 years old and I put a lot of research into what I'm saying. And if you can, then I'm always giving you a good book. The book is entitled The Secret Life of the Unborn Child by Thomas Burney.
Okay.
And the website is TRVERNYMD.com.
All right.
All right, thank you, Num.
All right, I'll check it out. All right, have a good one. All right, thanks for the call, Taylor. All right. The Secret Life of the Unborn Child. I'm actually typing it on my notes right now. Okay. Well, all right. So let me go ahead and set the context for what we'll talk about tonight, because in a lot of ways, this is the last part of what has been a 5-part series on purpose, power, and possibility. And this is probably the most, I said this is probably the most important of those segments, because in this next 45 minutes I have left, what I want to do is share with you how to tap into your inner power. And the reason I say it's the most important is because one of the things that tapping into your power will do for you is it will help you push past barriers, push past obstacles that have held you or have in some ways arrested you for years. And the ability to tap into that power will then allow you in many ways to blow through brick walls. You've heard me say before, if you're persistent, you can knock them down. But I would say with your inner power, you can blow through them. And so that's why I say it's one of the most important. So stick with me tonight. Now, the questions I'll be asking for you to be asking yourself is, one, have you ever had a moment? Have you ever had a moment when you felt powerful? Maybe you were giving a presentation. Maybe you were closing out a business deal, or you got a sale. You sold a product, or you sold something that you have been working on. But in that moment, in that time, you felt like you were in a very special flow. That was you possibly tapping into your inner power, not necessarily knowing it, right? So that takes us to the next question. Have you learned how to tap into your power at will? Like whenever you need it, you can call on it like a superhero, and there it is. That's the second question. And then the third question is, what could you create as your most powerful self? Like if you were operating from that place of flow, from that place of power on a consistent basis, able to call on that power or that essence, on demand, what would that create in your life? What could you create? What walls would you knock down? What barriers would you completely blow past if you had this level of power in your life? Well, if you're like, well, Linal, I don't know, but I want to hear you answer the questions. That's what I plan to do this evening. So, stick with me. But first, let's define what inner power is. Because when you talk about inner power, you've heard me say a lot of times, discover your own seed of greatness. So I talk about what's inside of you quite a bit. You've heard me refer to it as essence. That's what we call it as ontological coaches. You've heard me refer to it as spiritual substance. That's my very own definition of inner power, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. You've heard Tony Robbins call it personal power, or some of the people that follow him. You've heard others talk about the limitless source that you have already available to you. All of these things we can call, tonight I'm just going to call it inner power. All right. Now, someone else might say, well, there's another type of power that manifests itself through you, that will allow you to create miracles, supernatural power that comes from God, that comes from the divine. And I'll make that connection tonight as well, because I think it's very important that I do that. Now, to set the stage, I want to talk about why many of us don't operate with this level of power to start off, okay? And the reason why many of us aren't operating with this level of power is because we are living under an illusion of scarcity. Now, when I say the illusion of scarcity, what I mean is the way our society has been set up, the way the narrative is basically being broadcast all around you. I mean, take the media, take newspapers, take even what you're learning, what our children learn in school or what we learned growing up. We've been in some ways brainwashed to believe in scarcity. Now, I know right now somebody's saying, "Hey, brother, it is scarce." Stick with me. We've been conditioned to believe in this illusion of scarcity when there's abundance all around us. Well, you would say, what abundance? It was interesting. I was just having a conversation with my mother-in-law over Thanksgiving dinner. We were talking about Dr. Sebi and some of the different herbs that he talks about in his book that provide healing. And two of the most profound herbs that can heal the human body are growing out of the sidewalk on any street corner at any given time. The reason we don't use them is because we've been conditioned and educated to call them weeds, right? To say that's trash, that's unusable. That's how we've been conditioned and educated. We don't know the nurturing power that these so-called weeds actually have. If we did, many of us wouldn't be going to Walgreens, spending our hard-earned cash. Instead, we'd probably be outside picking it up, boiling it down into teas, and healing ourselves for free. So when I say there's abundance all around us, the first thing I need for you to remember is that scarcity is a mindset, scarcity is taught, and scarcity is in what is not taught. I think that's very important to know. So the things that you do not know can reflect scarcity in your life. Part of the reason many of us who may not have the means, may not have the economic situation, finances that we desire, is not necessarily that the scarcity is arresting us. It's just that we don't know what we need to know. And as a result, that is why we're in the situation we're in. Now remember, we live in the information age where information is abundant. So when I say there's abundance all around us, and there's a means to abundance all around us, that's what I mean. But here's what happens. We live in this illusion of scarcity. And this illusion of scarcity produces fatigue. It produces a lack of clarity. In some ways, it's a cause of our anxieties because we live under these beliefs. And these beliefs, they drive us. And they drive us to the point of exhaustion, of pure busyness, and we're moving so fast that we cannot slow down and truly connect to ourselves and how powerful we really are. We can't see the abundance because most of the abundance that we have is sitting right outside of our comfort zones. And if we just did something a little different, made a change, there would be the abundance right there. I'll give you an example. We just came out of Thanksgiving, where many of us experienced an abundance of food. When you say, well, Linal, that's Thanksgiving. Well, one of the reasons why every year, many of us, despite our financial situation, can experience an abundance in terms of food is because we declare it. What do you mean? What do I mean by when I say we declare it? We actually speak it. I'm going to eat good on Thanksgiving. And mind you, I'm speaking that, my family's speaking that, everybody's speaking abundance of food on this particular day around me. And the power that we're not even tapped into is working to create that abundance for us. And so without even knowing it, we're using the power that we have. Same thing on Black Friday. Many people who don't have money somehow have enough to go shopping on Black Friday. I mean, they have enough to go get that cheap flat screen or whatever it is they've been watching, right? Whatever sale they've been watching, they have it. Why? Because there was a certain level of intention. They slowed down and created a certain level of intention and said, I will have that. I will get that. And then they took certain actions, and those actions now, here it is. They have it. The same way you execute on Black Friday, if you took that same way of being into every day of your lives, your life would be transformed. Now, if you're like, well, Linal, I don't do the Black Friday thing, then I'm not talking to you. But for those of you who found yourselves out and about or online, I think you understand exactly what I mean. See, here's the thing. Most of us are dibbling and dabbling in our power all the time, and we don't even know it. We have no clue. We don't understand the power of our words. We don't understand the power of declaration. We don't understand the power of our thoughts. We don't even understand the power of our expectations. And this is how it is possible for us to have moments of power. This access to power here and there. Feel it, feel the flow, but then fall out of it later. The abundance around us comes through our words, through our declarations, through our thoughts, and through the expectation that we have. If you expect disaster, that means your thoughts are on disaster. And so when disaster shows up, don't say, see, I told you. Instead say, see, I created that. Because many of the things that we expect, the reason they come, the reason they actually arrive in our lives is because of that power we really truly don't understand. So, what is the key to unlocking this power and really truly tapping into it in a very intentional way? Well, I mean, the first answer is not going to shock you at all. It won't shock you, okay? The first answer is the key to unlocking your power, the key to unlocking your greatness is simply knowing your purpose on the planet. That's step number one. All right? That's what we've been talking about this series. The power of purpose, the power of identity. Purpose, power, possibility. Okay? That's what we've been talking about. And so if you're interested in what it would be like to live a life that is truly powerful, a life where you're completely honed in to your power, acting from a powerful place of intention, then the first step you have to take is to distinguish your purpose on the planet. What is your purpose? Why are you alive? Who are you? Got to know that. Now, if you're like, dude, that is a big job. I have no idea how to do that. All you got to do is go to murdermediocrity.com. And I still got the Black Friday price up on. It's the lowest that it's ever going to be. I still got the Black Friday price up on Purpose, Power, Possibility. And maybe, just maybe, you'll bet on yourself. You'll bet on the potential and the power that I know you have. So that's first. Now let's talk about what purpose does and how it begins to activate your power. Okay? What purpose does is purpose allows you to know and name your soul. Now, you've heard me say that a couple of times. What do I mean by that? See, your purpose is your identity. And the more acquainted you become with yourself, the better you know yourself, the easier it is for you to tap into your power. Think about this. Knowing yourself means that you're clear on who you are, inside and out. Most of us know who we are on the outside. We're very clear. We look at the shell every day in the mirror. You know, women, you look at yourself and you go, oh man, you know, oh, I got this little gray hair, or, oh, I need to, you know, put some concealer there, right? So you're very familiar with the external you, who you are on the outside, right? We men, I just put a blog out about, you know, my hair, sitting with my barber and like, hey man, my hairline is going back, right? So I'm very familiar with the external me, what the external me looked like 10 years ago and what the external me looks like today, and the difference between that. But how many of us can distinguish between the internal me or the internal you and who you were 10 years ago and who you are today? Or let's take it one step further. Do you know all your attributes, all your qualities, all your characteristics? I'm not just talking about the good ones. I'm talking about the weaknesses, the dark side that you don't want people to know. Like, how much of that do you know about yourself? Because that becomes your identity. And here's the thing. When you distinguish your purpose, there's something beautiful about purpose. I just got a call from I was talking to a client, and she was telling me how her son distinguished his purpose and the experience he had when it became clear to him. He was so emotional, he was crying, right? Now, everybody's not going to have it that way. But she was like, why do you think, Linal, why do you think, you know, he had that type of experience? And I said, what do you think it was? And she said he was, for the first time in his life, he was fully connected to himself. And I told her, that's it. That's what purpose does. It provides you a full connection to self. And that full connection to self now gives you a full connection to your power. See, that's the thing. Most of us aren't fully connected to ourselves. And so we're walking around literally handicapped in terms of the level of power we could be bringing into our life every day with everything that we do. So, purpose connects you to your seed of greatness. Purpose allows you to know and name your soul. Now, let me say this. In order for you to tap into your power, you also have to understand and realize something. That the person you're looking out on the outside, all this, the person you're looking at on the outside is no different than the exterior of the car you drive. No different than the exterior of the car you drive. So, it's no different than a black car or a white car in terms of race. No different. No different at all. That's it. It's a shell. The car has no power. I've shared this before. The car has no power. It can do basically nothing without the driver. The car has to have the driver. The spirit, the soul, is the driver. That is the driver. And so we put so much focus on the car, but we don't put any focus on the driver. Who's driving you? What's driving you? Because the more connected you get to that, all of a sudden you become connected to your power. Right? So the way I would break this down is purpose connects you to your seed of greatness. Purpose plus power equals your life's possibilities. Your possibilities plus purposeful action, we've covered this, equals your greatness. You cannot get where you want to go without doing some work. I'm sorry, okay? So if purpose is the seed and your inner power, right, is the water, you bring those together, that's how you get to greatness. That's how you distinguish your possibilities. Now the problem for a lot of you all is this. Y'all got weeds soaking up your water. The water is your power. You literally have weeds soaking up your power. And this is why you can't get access to it. You're too concerned with the outside person. You're not connected to the inside. And then the power you do have is literally being soaked up by your distractions. So for those of you who may be just joining, your weeds are your distractions, okay? And water is your power, okay? So basically, your water is being soaked up by the weeds. You're too distracted. Too distracted. There's a book by Robert Greene called Mastery. And what he says in this book, this is in the very first part of the book when he's setting the tone for what it means to be a master. And what he says in this book is, the ability to truly focus only comes with the clarity of identity. If a person does not know who they are, then they will not have the ability to truly focus on any one thing. So again, it all starts with your ability to be fully connected to you and who you are. So, how does your inner power work? We're going to get to that right after this call. I got Jeff. Jeff, how are you?
How you doing, brother Linal? It's been a while, but man, I've really been listening to you, man. I'm going to get that Black Friday deal you got. I got to get it. Hey, man, I got a question. Forgive me from bumbling around. I'll make sure I'm following you correctly now. Now, you say don't worry about the outside, just like you gave the analogy of the car. It's basically the same. It's only really meaningful, useful, depending on what's on the inside. There's purpose. But now, if a person hasn't found their purpose, say in 10, 15 years, just working, what have you, surviving pretty much, well, they're not going to see a difference between, say, now and 10 or 15 years ago, because they haven't found it. They're just basically just survive and make a living. You follow what I'm saying, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And, and only until, okay, let's see, and only until you find this purpose, and, and we, I guess you would tell us to get these weeds out of our distance.
Distractions, right?
Yeah, these distractions. Then we'll have that purpose. Then we'll be able to see this change from this person where we were, 10, 15 years ago till now. Am I right?
Right, absolutely.
Okay, bro. I just want to make sure I was following along.
And here's the other thing. And if you purchase the course, you're going to learn. You're going to have all this right at your fingertips whenever you want it. But the other thing to really consider is purpose is the beginning, right? It's the seed. But if you don't couple that purpose with understanding who you are and tapping into your power, then you may never be able to fully realize that purpose. That makes sense?
Okay, man.
So there's a lot of people out there that know their purpose. You got pastors in the pulpit that know that's where they're supposed to be, but they lack power.
Let me ask you one quick. Why do people seem to have this early on? Like you see people that are, say, musicians or something. Why do some just have this? And we got some people who've been great, right?
Yeah.
So why is this? What happened? Some people aren't rich. And they start out great. They have some athletes. They're born just as poor as us, what have you. and they're great, but they've got their purpose, and why is that? What happens in a young person's life? Say someone like Prince, for example. Yep. He's a young kid.
Yep.
So now, why he didn't have to? Why does he find his, for example, so soon?
That's a great question, and two things I would say. One is because it could be one or the other. One is they play to their they play to their passion.
Okay.
That's all that mattered, right? They play to their passion. And think about what it takes for somebody to play to their passion for decade after decade after decade. That means you have to listen to a lot of people say, hey, you should do something different.
Okay.
And you know what they say? Nah, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
So they play to their passions. Wow. Here's the other one. They became obsessed with their passion.
Okay.
And so think about, you take a LeBron James. He became obsessed with his passion. That's what made him great. Prince, obsessed with his passion. Michael Jackson, obsessed with his passion.
Perfect examples, yeah.
Right?
Bill Gates, Bill Gates, he's a little kid in the garage.
Obsessed, obsessed with his passion.
That's right. Wow.
And what happens is, other people will, and I'll share this with you, let you go. Other people will always have a different idea of what it is you should do and how you should do it.
Hot dog. How else do we hear that?
Have a good one.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, great call. All right. So I got another call, Colette. Will black people use reparations wisely? Let me go ahead and let you on real quick. All right, Colette.
Yes, good evening. I understand that you are speaking in terms of individuals.
Right. And so let me say this. I'm gonna say this because I want to answer your question, respect the question, and I think it's a very legitimate question. The number one opportunity for our community is to get fully connected to our identities, who we are. Until we do that, I don't care how much money we're given, how much education, opportunity we're given, we will still miss out on what it is that we're supposed to do, who it is we're supposed to be, and the fullness of what it is to live a happy, fulfilled, and purposeful life if we do not tap into identity. And it does not take money to do that. It takes slowing down. It does take knowledge, but knowledge is readily available now. Readily available. It takes slowing down. It takes tapping into the knowledge to fully come into connection with ourselves and our identities. And that's actually where I'm about to go.
Well, I'm saying the way our people choose how to use their power. Don't you see that we're not ready for the reparation? That is, we would, I see young men throwing their hair around like women used to do. It seems as though we're more interested in those outer things as you put.
Well, it's not just us. I mean, you could look at almost every race on the planet, and there's
what?
Race on the planet, every ethnicity on the planet, and there's elements of that. It's not just us. I promise you.
I'm only interested in us. So
okay. Yeah.
I know that, like in China and even in India, having light skin is it's a plus. Yes, we're all sort of brainwashed. I'm only thinking of black people.
And
at the time we were into our blackness and our natural hair and all that. We've abandoned all that. We're into nails and shoes and.
It's a lack of identity. It's a lack of identity. That's all. Because when you're connected to your inner man, then you allow the outer man to fully express himself for what he is, because it's a different level of confidence, power, and sovereignty that's evident.
It's just that you described power at one point as this ongoing sense of expectation. I almost feel we're in a constant state of instant gratification.
Oh, yeah, we are.
And mistake it for power, I guess, by your definition. We think that, we're...
Yeah, that's not power. That's not power.
Something. Yeah. Right, I agree.
Power is a state of... The power I'm talking about is a state of being. It's a now.
Yes, and as you said, hard work in creating your passion and knowing what it is.
Exactly. Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thanks for calling.
Appreciate your answering.
Yep. All right. Okay. So how does this inner power work? How do you get yours to work for you? Well, you got to remember, and I just shared this with Colette. You got to remember that it's your inner power. I mean, by the very, definition of those words or the etymology of those words, you have to know you to fully access it. You have to know you. So if you've been thinking that, tonight you were going to tune in and you're going to get some kind of quick fix, there's no quick fix other than for you to get fully connected to you. So you have to know your purpose. You have to have a clear view of your life's vision. You have to know your passions and be willing to play to those passions. See, one of the things that gets in the way of passion is this whole concept that, well, I can't play to my passion because I got to make money. And so we say to ourselves, well, and this is, think about it. I said it already. These are the things that get in the way. Words, declarations, thoughts, and expectations. So if you expect that if you play to your passion, you will be poor, then you just created that with your own power. You can switch the expectation and say, if I play to my passion, I'll be rich. And that's what will happen. We don't even understand the level of power that we have. So you gotta know at the very least, know your passions to be able to tap into your power. Then you got to know your strengths. And the strengths, here's the thing, the strengths are the things that you had to work at. You had to work at those things. Why would you ever lose sight of that? One of the reasons many of us work so hard decade after decade after decade is because we are literally building up strengths and then abandoning the strength to go build another one. For what? At this point in my life, at 41 years old, I plan to stick to the strengths that I have. So that way, as I move forward, I only get better at the game I'm playing, not worse. Now, are there some things I'm going to have to learn? Absolutely. Absolutely. But am I going to try to stick to those things if they're not my strengths? No. I'll probably hire somebody. Period. And then the other one is staying tuned into your talents. I've talked about this. And then most people don't even know the difference between talents and strengths. When you say strengths and talents, they think, well, you're talking about the same thing. Very different things, right? Talents are your gifts, your natural endowments, the things that you do that are easy for you. Might be hard for somebody else, easy for you. So you have to have clarity of vision, view of your vision, know your purpose, know your passions, know your strengths, know your talents, and those things, those 5 things, begin to make up your identity. I guarantee you that if you do the work to gain clarity on these things, right? And I actually provide the recipe in the course on murdermediocrity.com, Purpose, Power, Possibility online course. But if you get clear on those things, the level of personal identity that you have will shift. You'll see a shift in your self-esteem. You'll see a shift in your confidence. You'll see a shift in almost every aspect of your being. How do I know that? Because that is the power of identity. That's the power of identity. And that is your identity, the things that you love, you care about, the passions you have, the gifts that you were given just because you were born. Right now, my son, 5 months old, inside of him are untapped talents that as a steward, I believe that's my role. I'm a steward of his spirit, of his soul. As the steward, my job is to help him tap into those things. Oh, wow, you're really good at that. Maybe that's something we should explore, right? And then maybe he'll I realize or identify, pun intended, that this actually is a passion. And now we allow him to play to the passion, hopefully until he gets obsessed. And if he becomes obsessed with the passion, that leads to greatness. You guys heard the call earlier. So in order to tap into your inner power, you got to know you. You cannot tap into you. You cannot tap into your power unless you tap into you, period. And then get this. This is the most profound piece. Tapping into your inner power is free. There's no charge. Maybe a little time investment. Maybe you got to slow down a little bit, but it's free. How about that? Now, I want to give you some extra help if you happen to know your purpose. So you may know your purpose. You might even know your power. I've worked with a lot of people. And most of the people that I've worked with, one of the things that we do is we help them distinguish their power. Now, just because we distinguish their power doesn't mean they know how to tap into it. Because part of tapping into it means that you have to be personally connected to your own identity. I can't do that for you. Okay? So you might have the labels, but you might not know how to turn it on yet. So how do you get more connected to you? Well, it starts in these areas. One is your well-being. See, when you tap into your inner power, tapping into your inner power is really taking the source, the limitless, boundless source of your spirit, right? And allowing it to be used by the shell, by the man, right? Now, that being said, in order for the man to make adequate use of it, his well-being has to be able to handle it. What I mean by well-being is the physical form. Some of us are so sick, the body is so sick that the disconnect between spirit and body is the gap is so wide that the only way to bring back the connection is to first tap into health. I'm just saying. So if you know your purpose and you've had a hard time with this, maybe one of it is it's time for you to really, really turn to your well-being. Turn to your well-being. How can I take better care of myself? The next is your mind. You need to get connected to your mind. Some of us, we don't even know how to control our thoughts and our mood, right? If a thought comes into our mind, we allow that thought to completely run the show. It could be any crazy thought that happens to fly through, and it'll get caught in the net of our mind, and this thing will change our mood, it will change our day, it will change our week, it will change our month, it may even change your life, a thought, because you have no control of your mind. How do you control your mind? You control your inputs. You control your inputs. There's a story, I read it some time ago, of a woman. She wanted to get out of her depressed state of being. Now you can say depression is a way of being in the mind, right? It's a chemical imbalance in the mind. And depression is real. I want to be clear about that. But what she said is, I am going to strangle this hold that depression has on me. So what did she do? She plugged in to every inspirational and motivational input that she could, whether it was music, whether it was audiobooks, whether it was podcast. She basically drowned herself. You hear me? Drowned herself in those inputs. After doing that for 30 days, what happened was she woke up and realized that she felt wonderful. Not only did she feel wonderful, but she didn't have to battle in her mind with thoughts of depression. Most of her thoughts were gratitude. Most of her thoughts were positive things, uplifting, motivational, and inspiring. How did she achieve that? She achieved it through the work, through the very simple work of basically drowning herself in the inputs that she wanted to see become her outputs. It's that simple. So the next piece is, you want to get connected to your power, then you have to really take control of your mind. Maybe it's through your inputs, maybe it's through meditation, but that's another place to look. The next place to look, this one's obvious. Slow down. You know, some of us, we're moving so fast. And we're moving so fast that we're not even moving efficiently. We're not even moving effectively. I mean, we're just kind of running in circles, going nowhere. Super fast. And we're exhausted. We're fatigued. And if we just stop and take stock of what's happening in our lives, why there's no power, that we likely will see the link just because we slowed down or we stopped. It'll be a complete shift in context. But some of us are so linked to that way of being. And by the way, bad health, depression, certain way of being in the mind, busyness, all of them have certain payoffs. If they didn't have a payoff, then you wouldn't allow yourself to be in that state, period. The body, it craves what it knows. If it knows depression, it craves depression. If it knows busyness, it craves busyness. And it doesn't matter how exhausted you are, it will continue to push you towards busyness until you're exhausted, because that's what it knows. And the payoff is exhaustion, the opportunity to check out. All right, so the last piece is, after slowing down, is to practice living with powerful intention. Now, I've talked about it on the show before. How many of us are living by default? I mean, you can't get anything done. One simple task takes you weeks, if you ever do it. Why? Because you allow whatever comes into your space to dictate what it is that you do and where it is that you go. So begin practicing with powerful intention. Maybe it's just one thing. You know, tomorrow I'm going to go to the store and grocery shop for the week for my food. No matter what. Even if I have to go to a 24-hour store at 1 o'clock in the morning on Monday, it's going to happen, right? Powerful intention. But these are the ways that we tap into our power. But again, remember, that's for people who know their purpose. They believe they have a sense of identity, but they're still having a problem. For most of us, it starts with purpose. And then for those of us that it's not purpose, it's about identity. How well do you know you? Are you fully connected to you? Stop worrying about everybody else. Stop worrying about what somebody else is doing or what they said over there or whether or not they're living their best life. Are you living your best life? Are you connected to you? Are you living in a powerful way? In a way that you can call on your power and produce and create whatever it is that you want to create. I'll tell you, 2017 has been a year like that for me. And I can't wait to see 2018. Come on, 2018. I feel like Muhammad Ali in the corner, and I know I got this guy. He's ready to go down. That's what 2018 looks like for me. Let's go, let's go, let's go. That's what living a life of power looks like and feels like. When with intention you can say, I will do X, and then turn around and say, I've done X. And by the way, I encountered some resistance and I blew right past it. That's what living with power is all about. So tonight, are you tapped into your power? Do you fully know who you are? What are your powers? I'll leave you with mine. My powers are love. I love you. Peace. I love peace to bring harmony. Sovereignty. I know who I am, how I should show up. Connection and enchantment. You know, bringing the connectivity, the enchantment, the charisma, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that I can live out my purpose, which is to help myself and others live the best life possible. My purpose is your success. I say it all the time. Love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And by all means, until next week, stay inspired. It's a lifestyle choice. My name is Linal Harris. You've been listening to Inspirational Perspective here on WVON, 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. Happy holidays, everyone. Have a wonderful and safe evening. All right. That's the show. I hope you guys got out of it some good calls. If you've been watching on either Periscope or Facebook, and you have questions, you might be processing, put the questions in, and put the questions in. I'll answer them. If not tonight, at some point tomorrow. Okay? Because I do know that a lot of what I talked about was it was, I wouldn't say it was that deep, but it was, it's different. So I want to make sure you guys have whatever answers you need. But thanks so much for sticking by. And I do hope that you got what you came for. And thanks so much for listening and joining in. And last but not least, if you haven't already, make sure you go to murdermediocrity.com and take advantage of the holiday deals, Black Friday deals. And then coming into Cyber Monday, we'll have some more deals for you guys. So just different products, tools to help you move your life forward. And more to come. So, even if you don't want to buy anything, go on and download one of the free courses or download the free books so you opt in to get on the email list. So that way, as I introduce more really cool things, I have a cool product that's coming out for the last part of this year to complete the year. And then the first part of next year in terms of like really, really giving you all structure and support in terms of reaching your goals. So any of those things you're interested in, then make sure you go out to murdermediocrity.com and at the very least opt in. All right? Well, you guys have a phenomenal evening. Thanks for sticking with me. And I'll catch you next week.